I was trying to get her.
You know, Charlie.
6 o'clock, we'll call a meeting of the Millwood, I always forget, Beautification and Tree Board meeting, April 1, 2024. Call to order. I didn't say that already. Do I have to go through the agenda?
Yep, we're getting structured now.
Okay. The meeting has been called. Second item of business is approval of the meeting agenda.
Do we need roll calls? Everybody's
Usually,
here.
I don't do the roll call.
Oh.
City staff does the roll call.
Whatever. You can see we're all here.
Vicky Nacarado,
Present.
Debbie,
Here.
Charlie,
Here.
Winston.
Oh, yeah, I'm here too.
Perfect. So everybody's here.
Right.
Okay, now we need approval of the meeting agenda.
I approve.
Looks good to me.
So approved. Now, we need approval of the meeting minutes from the last meeting. Is there any edits, comments, or questions?
Seemed accurate to me.
Hearing none, meeting minutes from the last meeting are approved. Next action item is the ordinance number 542 draft.
So this, we talked about it in November. And I think when Denise was still here into December and stuff, she had started working on it a little bit. And then it had kind of gotten dropped after she left, and then we had to pick it back up, and because I mean our main goal, right, was to try and make it reflect like the forest management plan, so they coincide. So between Daniel and Lisa and I and the city attorney Brian, we kind of came up with a few things to try to make it reflect the plan. A lot of it was just mainly small changes, like changing town to city and stuff like that. There was a couple other changes, and actually Winston Wiggins had a couple of comments that he had on it. And I don't think it was necessarily the changes that we had done, or not done, but were proposing to do. It was actually older stuff that was already in there that he is thinking maybe shouldn't possibly be in there or should be changed possibly. So I think he wants to talk about that today. I guess this isn't technically the right time to talk about it, but that's kind of just where we're at with it. We made a few changes or proposed changes. And if you guys had a chance to look at them over the weekend or what,
I did.
it wasn't, I mean, we raised the possible fine from $1,000 up to $7,000, and that was mainly $7,500. And that was mainly because, if you look at the forest management plan, you look at that graph in there of the cost of the trees, I mean, there's trees in there worth thousands and thousands of dollars, and obviously you can't replace one of these 100-year-old oak trees with another 100-year-old oak tree, but you gotta have some sort of financial compensation to help with the labor and equipment, and trying to get as large of a tree probably ideally as you can to replace it with.
Wasn't there something added on there too about the value of the tree? Plus the
I
fine?
believe so, yeah.
Plus the fine, yeah.
That was good.
And that was like a maximum, I mean, I guess that'd have to be on a case-by-case basis and everything,
Well, I see that with the paperwork that came out for this meeting, you didn't have a copy of the permit which did come out for the December one, where we didn't have a quorum to have a meeting then. I assume it's the same permit format, is that correct?
Yeah, everything's the same.
Well, and it does a good job in the permit of explaining about, like the homeowner that can take out dead wood or a branch, anything less than 3 inches. That's nowhere in the ordinance, and it shouldn't be. It's like informational, and somebody's gonna miss it unless, because that's kind of misleading. It's like, okay, can I cut my own dead wood out or not? No.
I think it is in the ordinance, I read it somewhere.
It just said that about you need to get a permit, but I didn't see anything about the 3-inch diameter, except when I went to the December meetings permit and permit application process. And that had to do with traffic control and just general information, which was very good, by the way. I mean, I like the way the permit came out, because remember, we were trying to make sure that the property owner would be the one who signed it.
Right.
But I like that 3-inch, because I think people instantly think they can't touch their trees unless they get a permit. Well, that's not quite what we were going after. So I don't know, should we add that? Does it have to be added in the ordinance, or how are we gonna get that information out to the public?
Well, my question might be, what are people most likely to look up when they try to find information on this? Are they more likely to look at the code, or are they more likely to look at the forest management plan?
I don't know, does that say it in there, the 3-inch?
I thought I did, but I
It
wasn't.
doesn't.
I don't know exactly where it is, but I read it. I just read it a couple hours ago, and I know it's in here somewhere,
In the ordinance itself?
in the ordinance itself.
See, then I went all the way through the ordinance and could never find it, because we have so many street trees, we cut the dead wood out with the, little thing, can't do it if it's too big.
Right.
But there really was nowhere in there that made me feel like, oh, will we be in violation then if we do? I couldn't find or unless maybe I just overlooked it, I was reading too fast. But I do think that it's like the more information we can, where is somebody gonna go and look it up? Or is there gonna be some synopsis thing or something that, to let people know what they can and can't do?
No, I don't see it in here, I didn't notice it either.
See, I just couldn't find it.
Didn't we get a copy of that permit last week,
Well,
time?
it came in the December one, but then there wasn't, I think I was the only one that showed up for the meeting, so it wasn't enough to have the meeting. And I like it, I mean, it's well written, it's really good.
You just don't have a copy of it.
This one, but it was in the permit application process that it mentioned the 3-inch diameter. So what are people gonna go read, the tree ordinance? They're not gonna be filling out a permit. So I don't know, I feel like it should be in the ordinance, because I think people are gonna go in and start looking, do I need a permit? What's your thoughts, anybody else?
I wouldn't be opposed to saying they should have a permit to cut dead wood out since they're free, and maybe at that point,
That way,
I wouldn't be totally opposed to saying that maybe they should have a permit to cut out dead wood since they are free. And then maybe they get that information that way when they pick up the permit.
Yeah,
or,
I can add to the backside of the permit, all the information and stuff, and that way they
Yeah,
can
it
decide.
has it. I don't know, but you know, if somebody is just going in and reading, do I need a permit? I'm gonna go and cut. Or, you know, like say there's a branch hanging out over the sidewalk and people are running into it. There's no place that says, no, go ahead and cut it down and you don't have to have a permit because you're a property owner and it's under 3 inches. And I'm not so very sure we don't need to make that really, by the time you get to the tree permit, that means you're pretty much committed and you're talking about finding an arborist and you're way into it. And then it lets you off the hook. I mean, well, first, should it be
Well,
first somewhere in there?
When you get to here, it says no person may cut, trim, prune, spray,
Yeah.
brace. You know, remove.
Yeah, no person may cut,
Yeah.
trim, prune, spray, brace, plant, move, remove, or replace any tree located.
Unless a written permit, that which is what you just said. Even if you were doing deadwood, you should have the permit.
But I
According
think
to
that's
that.
misleading.
Oh, because you think, you would say they wouldn't need a permit.
Well,
just to
because
do the
it says
deadwood.
on the actual permit, it's
Oh, I
saying pruning limbs over a 3-inch diameter. Well, that's a big deal.
They would be told
It
that
should-
at the time though, that they came down to say they were gonna prune their tree.
Right, but I don't know, I mean, it's like, that's kind of far into it, isn't it? I mean, do we want someone just to be able to go in and look at the tree ordinance and, oh, I can trim that so it doesn't hit somebody's face. I can take that dead wood out and not have to worry about coming in for a permit. Or do we want them to go through all the steps? And would they, is what it boils down to. So, but to put it, can we put it in there somewhere? About the 3-inch?
probably.
Yeah, that would be part of our enforcement.
Could go into that section 7.
I mean, you know,
guess.
seriously, there we are, out doing yard work. Oh, here's one, let's go cut this out. I'm not sure if I'd say, oh, no, we have to go see if we need a permit. And I'm on the tree board, you know?
Well, and we can also add it to the website to make sure
Yeah.
underneath there.
I just think that it's just one of those things, if, you know, somebody's gonna go and start looking, and it needs to be obvious that, okay, yes, you need to continue if you're taking a tree out, you wanna cut this giant branch off. But just for dead wood and, you know, that, so that was my one detail. But I wanted to, whoever did put the tree permit together, I thought they did a good job. Is the applicant property owner's name, contractor's name. It's exactly what we wanted.
Okay. So basically, have something in the ordinance to more reflect what it's saying on the permit itself.
Well, exactly.
Okay.
Because then they'll know exactly if they have to pursue it, if they have to take the extra steps to go. Which I think is to clarify it when they do, and if they don't, you've got the information about what happens if they don't, so, you know.
Charlie, you got anything on that?
If it's not in the ordinance, then yeah, it should be in the ordinance.
I didn't see it, I kind of.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I think that's section 7, and when it does address what Debbie was reading, that no person may cut, trim, prune, right there. Somehow, if it could be in there.
There is a landowner responsibility section.
Yeah. It probably wouldn't hurt to even repeat it in a couple of sections. You never know what people are gonna head to and read. And also that they could get fined if they don't, if they cut down a tree, you know?
Mhm.
I liked all the definitions were good, you know, about the street trees and explanations and.
So probably under section 13. Right here, says any person engaging in the activity of cutting, trimming, pruning, or removing public trees or street trees within the city shall be in International Society of Arboricultural Certified Arborist or be under the direct supervision of an ISA certified arborist. You're thinking maybe some add in there somewhere, like, I mean, just, this is just crude, but unless it's definitely dead and under 3 inches. I mean, something.
Or just, well, or I'm even thinking something live and that's hanging in people's faces. If it's the 3 inches, that doesn't seem, we don't need to get an arborist to do that.
Right.
You know, so it'd be alive or dead, but that'd be a good section, but I'm wondering too about,
Just the section
just
seven.
check section 7, because that's the first part that says no person may cut, trim, prune, you know, and then put it in there that if it's 3 inches or above because of a branch or tree. It's just that I would get fined because we do it. I mean, you know, it's just, and especially, you know, those sugar maples are so prone to having dead stuff. We're just constantly taking out the dead, and it's just like, no, I'm not gonna come in and get a permit. And yet here I am writing the permit,
Right.
you know, the permit process.
What do you think about homeowners taking out live branches under 3 inches that are obstructing?
That goes under the definition of a nuisance tree then, which is,
Have to, yeah.
and then it's still the landowner's responsibility, but if it's over 3 inches and it's a nuisance or a part of a nuisance tree and it's under 3 inches, then yeah, they should be able to take it out. But if it's over 3 inches, then an arborist should be involved.
So in your expertise, you don't think there's really too much of a way that a person could screw up cutting a live branch?
That's a marginal.
Screw up the tree, yes.
Okay. So I mean,
You know, make the 3 inch a little lower, so it makes it.
I mean, we're trying to protect the health of the trees here, right? So,
Could you put something in like with due diligence and care or something like that, that the homeowner can, or, you know, how would you, I agree with you, they could still slaughter something that pretty bad.
It could damage the tree depending on how the limb is cut. I'm not a big proponent of making landowners go hire a certified arborist to trim their trees. But there should be a way that in the tree ordinance, there's pruning practices. If you put it in the ordinance, if the landowner follows the urban forest management plan pruning practices, then
That's a
maybe-
great idea. Refer to that because it's out there. That's a good idea. If they follow that and it's under 3 inches, a homeowner can do
And then
it.
maybe we'd have to add in something like if damage did occur to that tree, then the landowner is.
If it's a nuisance, do you guys come out and actually look at it? Let's say?
I believe so, yeah, I think that's what the
I mean, cause
ordinance says.
anybody could just say, that's a nuisance to me, you know, and
Right,
so I wondered if at time they could be directed on the removal of that nuisance limb.
right, I think the way I understood it in the little bit that I've saw was if it was on public property or a street tree, staff would go out and look at it. If it's on private property, and this goes into one of Winston's questions, was if it's on private property, who makes the call as to, you know, who's allowed on the property to, take it down. And I think that we kind of came to the conclusion that it'd have to be a formal complaint from somebody saying, this tree's gonna, or saying that, assuming that this tree's gonna fall and take out some kids on a trampoline or something, is one thing I heard on a tree a few years ago. So at that point, we would have to notify the homeowner, be like, hey, you need to, call a certified arborist to come check this out. Let him be the deciding factor on whether, yes, it is an issue, or no, it's not an issue.
And that was a
But that'd be
private
after
tree?
a complaint.
What's that?
That was a private tree?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that would be something that, be in your backyard, totally out of the right of way, totally off everything,
Well, I guess, and I agree with that. I think that after a complaint, you'd have all the right in the world to do that. I guess I'm kind of I'm somewhere between, don't want them destroying things, but you have to enable them to do a little bit without, like Charlie's saying, without requiring a permit to do anything.
Right.
And it's like, how do we get that across?
Talk to the lawyer.
Yeah, that,
Like I was saying, if it's under 3 inches, say we'll just pick the 3 inches, and they follow the urban
I
forest
think that's the
management plan
best thing to say.
pruning methodology, and no, this is public tree, it's a street tree, or defined as public trees.
Right.
If the damage to the tree did occur witnessed by city staff, then there's
They're
liability.
liable. They're liable for for damage or whatever. Yeah,
That's my thinking.
I like it.
But only if it's, say, whatever, under 7 feet or something, to where you're gonna hit your head on it or something on the sidewalk, or,
Well, you
About-
just, wouldn't you put just the dead wood or the nuisance, wouldn't that be covered in that? Because I mean, you walk around the neighborhood and you consistently get a branch in your face, you know which trees it are. And you're like, why don't they cut that?
okay,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I like the idea of following the standards, and then if there is damage, you have to kind of put that in there too, that don't get too happy here with your little saw. It probably wouldn't hurt to put that in even in a couple of places if you wanted to. I mean, repeat never hurts.
Right.
Maybe they're at 9, I was looking.
Okay.
Gosh, Charlie, you seem so far away.
It's gone to the other
We
side.
sit by side, sit over there.
Any other questions from you guys with the ordinance stuff?
In that section 7, it said that to defray the cost of administering this chapter, council shall set by resolution a non-refundable fee. Is there any thought on that, or you're just letting the city council arbitrarily pick a fee?
Is that for the permit?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we decided we weren't gonna have a fee for the permit.
Well, in section 7, that's what it said, to defray the cost of administering, the very last sentence.
Oh, okay.
You might have to strike that or add a fee.
Well, I don't know, at this time, we have no fees, but if the cost is too high, we will request that, you could put that in there. It's fine for now, no fee, but leave it open that if we need to, city council can go, will that be enough of an opening that you would have to change the entire ordinance? That might be something for Brian.
Right. You make a note of it, or?
That was all I did, yeah. Anyways.
Anything else on?
That's it, I think.
I did find two typos.
Okay.
In section 1, line 2. Well, on page 6, the bottom. Section 1. First paragraph, line 2. On page, this is page 6.
Wow.
Page 6 is different than my page 6.
Yeah, mine is too.
Okay, section 1.
Yeah.
It's up on the screen.
Oh,
Yeah. First paragraph in section 1, line 2, maintain and enlarge the urban forest of city. Just the, of the city,
Okay.
it's minor. And
you always get those good ones.
in what section?
I usually catch those too.
In section, I believe it's section 4, paragraph I would be the last paragraph of that section. Oh, it's paragraph H. You on there?
Yeah,
Urban forest management plan will be reviewed by the board to evaluate the city's strategic plans. It says to evaluate, that's evaluate twice in one sentence. So just
Evaluate
City-
strategic.
evaluate the city's strategic plans and
To progress
Oh,
progress towards management goals.
good one.
That's the only edits that I had to it.
Okay.
I do have a question for, since you might know this answer, Vicky. It says in here that you have to have $1 million insurance policy.
I know, wow,
That is for the arborist, I
yeah,
assume. Is that common?
Yes, for the city, yeah, that's what they had.
she knows.
I think that's what.
It's part of their bonding process and
Sure. So that would be for any arborist or or
contractor.
horticultural company contractor doing the work.
It's the company usually, or if he's private, then he would have to have his own, but yeah.
Okay.
That's basically required by WCIA, our insurance company too.
Even to work in the right of way,
Yeah.
which they would be doing to some degree.
It's about the
so-
minimum now. I think in some aspects, it was getting raised to maybe 2 million or something. I can't remember.
Our aggregate,
That's what Debbie was saying something about, yeah.
that's our aggregate. That's,
The 100,000 stayed for a long time though.
Okay,
Yep.
Done with the draft?
yeah, if there's no other comments,
That's good.
questions, edits to the draft,
We can discuss more later on too.
Yeah.
You present.
So, the Arbor Day, it's kinda hard to get a lot of information on trees before the 1st of April, it turns out, cause a lot of places aren't open, I didn't know that when I'm going out there on the 29th looking for trees. But, I did go up to Smart Gardens and I walked around their lot up there of trees they had. And, told them, you know, that we have an abundance of maples and oaks and stuff right now, and we wanted to try to diversify and get away from those, cause, you know, of what Jim Flott had talked about with disease and spreading through, you know, like species, you know. So, he gave me a few different options. One of them was the one we were talking about with the elm. There was a birch,
I think they're pretty.
a Princeton Century ginkgo,
That'd be cool.
a Jade Prince redwood, a green whisper cypress, and a frontier elm. And then there was some other conifer ones, which I didn't know if I wanted a needly tree or not. I don't think there is any needly trees in the Arboretum right now. And I kinda wanted to put it back where we put that one last year that didn't make it. And
That's just
like I said before, I kinda really wanted to try to push to get a substantial, as much of a substantial tree as I can get. I talked to her up there and apparently she was saying during COVID, everybody wanted to put big trees in the ground. And so they sold an abundance of their big trees, and a lot of the nurseries or whatever are having a tough time keeping up now because they sold all their big ones, and obviously it takes time to make big trees. So she said that, you know, if we settled on the species, then she could do some looking around and might be able to order something.
what price range are we in?
These are all, I thought, really reasonable, like that ginkgo one, it was a 2-inch, which is a little smaller than I'd like. It was the most expensive at $546.
Okay, we scratched that one.
You could always, check out Green Acres too.
Yeah, Green Acres is usually good.
Yeah, and now that we're past the 1st, I was gonna try to, maybe if I have time tomorrow, I'd like to go out there and, I can't remember where Paul got that one that went behind bottles. If that was, I thought it was someplace out further. And the lady or the guy that I was talking to up there, he was talking about a place right off Barker and the freeway. And so, and he said that he has some substantial trees in there. And so Matt and I took a drive out there, last Thursday, and he has some very good sizable trees, and he has a spade or whatever, you know, to be able to dig them out and transplant them, but we couldn't find anybody to talk to there.
Oh, to see what
We
they
walked
have.
around and kinda seemed like, maybe we could get shot or something, you know, there's random car parts and it looked like a cross between a junkyard and a tree farm, but I thought maybe if we went back after the 1st, maybe we'd find somebody to talk to and stuff, and he did have some good sized trees out there, but.
So you wanna pursue that? Well, how about, I don't think it makes too much difference, it means we wanna diversify. In a sense, it's like, what's the healthiest one that you think is about right and where you're gonna put it? You're gonna be able to call that, means you have the spot.
Right, well, and it has plenty of space around it there, you know, it's irrigated with the grass and stuff, so I mean, it can have plenty of water and everything, we don't have to look for something that would be in a drier area or anything. I just mainly wanted something a little more substantial, cause I mean, we
Oh, yeah,
have a couple of little guys down there on the
they're so
dog strip
sad.
that, yeah, I've been here 11 years and I don't think they've hardly grown a foot,
I
you know?
remember planting those, we all do, they didn't do too good.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try to find something a little bit more substantial. I really like that one behind bottles as far as the size of it and
Yeah.
stuff. I think that's a good,
Gosh, I can't remember where they got that one either.
I might be able to look back through some emails and see if I can find a conversation between Paul and whoever was out there, wherever it came from, you know? I don't know if, or heck, I could just text Paul and ask him too, he might remember.
Because at the time, remember, some machine broke down and they were gonna bring a bigger one and then they had to substitute this one. And
Yeah,
so it was somebody who had
yeah, they had
a
large trees.
machine, but I can't, I just don't know the. So Arbor Day is
Yeah, that's,
27th,
29th,
29th?
is that the 29th of April?
Arbor Day
26th.
itself is the 26th.
Oh,
26th.
26th.
Oh, sorry.
Of doing it the 26th at 2, so we're still here, it's still kind of at the end of the day. More chance for people to show up, so
What day is that?
So Friday,
Friday,
Friday
the
the
26th at 2.
yeah, because Saturday mornings was just us. And that's in the Arboretum.
Same place we did last year.
I think that sounds great. But I'd really just, you guys, go for it. See what you can find and what you think is a decent size and a realistic price. And we're gonna diversify, so it's not like we're trying to find the best maple or the best,
Right.
you know, oak or anything like that, so.
Okay, well, that'll work for that. Then the grant, we did
Yeah.
get our grant money.
Oh, good.
That was divided up into 2 different categories. I should have refreshed my memory on this stuff before I decided to talk about it, but there was like $0 to $49,000.
Yeah.
And that, so they had their grant money divided up by federal and state money. And the smaller ones, the 0 to 49,000, that was state money. And the larger ones up to, I think, 200,000 or something was federal.
350.
350, it was federal. And because of something to do with our
You have to be a
disadvantage,
disadvantaged community.
which we are not. So we only qualified for the 0 to 49,000, which worked out fine because when I got together with the guy from Bartlett, we kind of walked through all the public trees, the ones that needed to be removed and then trimmed and everything. And I think the total we came up with him was like 64,000 or something. And I had budgeted money in our regular budget to compensate.
Mhm.
So the 49,000 was perfect. So that'll help out.
So
with that.
we got 49,000 is what we got?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
And they had a ton of applicants this time around, and they're supposed to get all of the stuff sorted out and everything awarded by the end of February, and they had so many to go through, they had to postpone that, but they got everything done now. We had a Zoom meeting a couple weeks ago now, just addressing everybody that won and stuff, and they're getting contracts together to send out, and I have yet to see that stuff, but it should be in the works.
But they
so.
verbally committed to 49,000 for us?
Yep,
Oh, that's great. And then you have enough in the budget to get up to
compensate them.
Bartlett's?
yeah. Well, I still have to put it out to bid. I used them just cause I had a relationship with them doing other stuff.
Right.
And so, and
That's
they
who
were
did
offered
ours.
to kind of give us a ballpark to go off of to apply for the grant.
Mhm.
So I just used them for that and then, but yeah, once we get the contract out of the way and everything, I will have to go through the MRSC roster and get at least probably 3 to 5 bids before we can actually get the work done.
Sounds great.
So that'll be, and it's gotta be done by, I think, middle of June of next year or something, or June 1st of next year, if I recall.
So you have a
First
year.
of June or end of June.
Yeah, but I'm just hoping just to get it all done this season and be done with it.
That's be nice because it's have people seeing the work being done. A lot
Yeah.
of people like that.
Yeah, and there was, I mean, from the council meetings I have been attending, you know, for the last year or so, I've seen some genuine interest in, you know, following through with more tree stuff, you know, since the management plan's been put into place and stuff to follow through with getting at least the street or the public trees and stuff maintained, and like all the ones on Dalton and everything, you know, that are kind of a mess. It's been, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years or something since somebody went through there and trimmed all those up and got rid of the dead stuff, and that would be included in that price to do all that, the arboretum, the park.
To remove one.
What's that?
Great.
And to remove one in that strip too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and to remove the one that is in the Dalton strip that's dying. So,
Well, and I think once people see you doing like, you know, the strip and stuff, and then it kind of inspires them too, that, okay, yeah, let's keep up ours, because,
I hope so.
yeah. Oh, good. I'm excited. That means we can do it all, what I think it is. That's kind of, I thought we might have to split it. At one point, you thought we would have
So
to.
Yeah.
they're only gonna remove 8 trees, right?
I believe that's what we'll
There's
do.
67 trees for removal.
Yeah, I remembered that now.
But that's gonna be kind of a interesting thing, cause all the rest of those are street trees. And we're not supposed to pay to remove street trees, that's the owner's responsibility. And we can't use grant money to remove those trees either, cause then that'd be like gifting, or
Right.
it's not allowed, unless they come up with a different kind of grant that would allow you to do that.
Can you,
There's still public trees, they're still on public right of way, they're public property.
Yeah, the ones that were in the public right of way are the ones that we can take care of, but if it's on their private land and it
Sure.
overhangs, that's where it
Yeah.
starts getting into a weird
Right.
situation.
can you trim those or do anything? Can you,
Not supposed to,
not supposed to touch them?
because then if we do one person, then everyone's like, well, hey, what about mine, and what about mine, and what about mine?
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Next thing
That's
you're doing
exactly
everything.
what would happen. Huh?
And then you got, you know.
Are they marked? I mean, do the people know even?
We have a list.
Yeah, I mean, they're all listed out, I mean,
I bet you there's a lot of people that don't know that that tree's been.
Well, I wonder if we could do that for next year's grant, try and find something that would help them. And maybe in a letter out to people to let them know that this needs to be taken out, and we're trying to find you help. Right now, the way it's written, you have to do it, but you can, you know, we'll give you, we're trying to find something that would at least tell them that they have to, but that they're not alone. But then we have to find the grant.
That's the hard part.
Yeah. And I just volunteered you to write another one, didn't I? Sorry,
A little bit.
you're so good.
okay. And I think that's that.
When do one of those trees become like a public nuisance? I mean, is there a line
That's
there
for the
of
city staff to determine.
that? Yeah, because if the people aren't willing to remove it yet,
I
then
think
you guys go in and say, well, it is, you know, then they pretty much.
I think it's when we start getting phone calls from West Valley saying their buses are hitting the tops of them, or garbage trucks are,
Knocking them down.
you know, taking down more than just little beanpole types branches, you know, and
No, I meant the ones
Stop
that need to
signs.
be removed. Oh, those are the ones that need to be removed?
no, not removed, but that
I
would
meant
be,
the ones that
that would be
wouldn't need to be
nuisance to the
Oh,
point where they had to be trimmed or cut,
but I
pruned.
meant the ones that need to be removed where you know, you can't really make
Oh,
that.
I don't think, I mean, it says that we can make that call, but honestly, I would go out and look at it, and then I would call an arborist to come make the final decision. I'm not gonna,
Okay.
I don't know enough, I'll be straight up with you, I don't know enough to say.
No, aren't
That's
they already
diseased or
marked
sick.
by Jim?
They're-
Jim has notes on some of
Yeah.
them,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're marked and we're aware of.
Well,
like
you know,
67, then stuff
Yeah.
that needs to be removed.
but in doing like what I was talking about, saying a letter that within the next couple, 3 years, this tree is going to need to come out at the homeowner's expense. We're pursuing a grant to help you with the expense of it, just to let them know
Won't do
that,
it then.
that they're, but give them enough time that they're not gonna freak out,
Right.
And that there's somebody out there trying to help them with the cost. But some of those, yeah, they could fall down and that'd be that.
Well, and part of being the beautification board, you guys would have the option to start making like things for the public, like meetings or something to do cleaning or looking at trees or something to educate the public too, as being part of the beautification board part, so.
Sounds good. Or at least a flyer or something that says, yeah. Or think on that.
I think, is that everything then on that?
I think so.
So,
Good work on the grant.
so I think Winston has a couple things he'd like to talk to you guys about.
So
And
patient.
You're up, Winston.
we're not doing this as formally as the council meetings, I don't think.
We gotta make sure the mic's on though.
So I don't have to say who I am,
You're Mr. Wiggins.
I'm Mr., yeah, there you go. Just call me Winston. Well, I spent a little time going through the draft ordinance when it showed up at the council meeting last month. And they agreed to delay it because it kind of popped out, it seemed to me anyway, at the last minute on the agenda. And there was quite a bit of stuff in it. So I went through it. Kyle's been really good. He and I have been communicating back and forth about the details of it. Some of it I didn't understand that he explained to me. A couple of things though that still are a little troubling to me. One of them has to do with the establishment of the tree board. I know you got 3 members now. Your management plan recommends 5. Be that as it may, I think 3 is probably good enough.
Well,
but-
then it says the 2 should.
Yep, and that's my second part of it. The way this is written, it says there will be 3 members that are citizens, 2 arborists, or the equivalent thereof, and then Kyle or some other employee that's an ex officio member. I'm very uncomfortable about non-citizens participating in making recommendations to the city council. I don't know if there's 2 arborists in Millwood. I certainly don't qualify as one.
I thought it
know
was worded, I don't know, I can't remember which section it is. Can you
It's
tell?
section 3.
Section
It says here, a board of 5
members
members,
shall have experience.
Oh, yeah.
3 are citizens to be appointed by the mayor. The following 2 shall have experience in arboriculture or urban forestry. So there's your 5. And then the 6, it seems to me that you've really got 6 members here by the time you throw in the
Well,
ex officio member.
I thought the way I read it was following 2 members have experience in the agriculture or urban forestry, or city official or employee who should be non-voting. So I guess I looked at it as an
Well,
either or.
To me, the wording is a little confusing. I don't know whether you have 5 or 6 members. It's very specific that 3 of them will be citizens. The following 3, including the ex officio employee, it's not clear in my mind about that, whether they should be citizens or not. I would recommend that if you're gonna have the council or the board made up of the 6 individuals, 3 citizens, 2 arboriculturalists, I'll call them that, and 1 employee, that the arboriculturalist and the city employee be ex officio, non-voting. They're there in an advisory role. That's fine. I mean, I don't see a problem with that. I question whether it's really necessary, but if that's the way you want it, then that's fine.
I think I was talking with the mayor today about this a little bit, and he was saying that, the historic preservation and the tree boards, and it's not just us, but I guess all over municipalities, it's not uncommon for them to have out of the city input into these boards, especially if they add value to something. And I think that's just he was saying that's kind of the way Washington has based it for a long time, is if you have a desire and an interest in said topic and you can add value and a new input to it, then it's okay. I tend to agree with you a little bit as far as from the voting standpoint. I don't necessarily think they should be able to have a decision like that, seeing as how they're not taxpayers in the city.
I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from. If they're ex officio, if they're there to provide expertise or advice, so be it, but not in a voting capacity. The other thing I would also caution you about is that if you've got a couple of arborists who are participating with the tree board, somewhere in the ordinance it ought to be very clear that these individuals or the organizations or companies they represent can have no right to bid on or participate in any business with the city. I mean, you talk about, we've had some discussions with the city council about conflicts of interest, which in that case are kind of vague to me, but it seems to me that in this case it would be very clear. If Joe Blow from the XYZ Tree Company sits and represents here on the board, even in a non-voting role, and then bids on city contracts or does city work, I think that kind of stinks, potentially. It doesn't mean there's anything bad going on, but it has a certain smell to it. So that would be my recommendation on that.
Good suggestions.
But I have.
The way I read it, Winston, is the following two members shall have experience in arboriculture or urban forestry. A city official or employee shall be
So maybe members, and the members should be members.
a city official or employee. Yeah.
See, the way I'm reading that, it says the following two members would have experience, and
I see.
then there's a city official.
Yep.
Seems to me that you really have, what this is saying is you really have 6 members, not 5. Because the city employee counts as an ex officio.
Yep.
In fact, it uses the term ex officio member. So I would, make clear that the 2 with experience and the city employee are ex officio members. That's fine.
So, I don't know how we proceed with this, if we just have him write a comment to the council and reach out that way, or if you guys, I guess maybe that's the way it should be, is you
We
guys
should-
should,
Yeah, we should suggest what we want it to say and then go back. And the whole thing, and going to the city council without doing that and having them debate it doesn't seem quite right. They'd just
Yes.
kick it back to us.
Our role is to advise the city
Absolutely.
council in
Absolutely.
tree
Yeah.
issues. So we then agree with Winston, the 2 members can have experience or be city employees
I think that, yeah,
and be non-voting.
but they're non-voting, yeah.
They don't
I
have-
guess I automatically read it that way. But if you're really taking it for what it actually is all out there, yeah, he's right, that's what it says.
Okay,
In my opinion, it's the other two members don't have to have arboricultural experience. They can, but they don't have to, or employees of the city. That's how I think it should be, it should read.
Okay.
That's in my opinion.
I think that's good, and so let's just redo the way we've redone some wording in the other parts. Let's just do the verbiage different and send it back to whoever gets it.
Well, the other thing I'm worried about is if one person doesn't show up to the meeting, that's a voting member, we can't have a meeting. Because
Yeah,
we don't have a quorum.
And that was
So
kind
that
of,
was kind of where it was put in to have more members. So I feel like we at least need 5 members somehow.
this is
that are
kind of
voting.
the scenario that happened in December, you know, and
right,
people couldn't show up and we couldn't have a meeting. And so we kind of, that's how this got to the city council before you guys had a chance to look at it.
even look at it.
And I think that's, I mean, honestly, that's probably partially on me, just because with everything else I had going on, kind of overlooked that, which I shouldn't have done. And then thanks to Winston actually is what it delayed it and let it kick back, so we had a chance to come here and have a conversation about it. So I mean, I definitely,
So we need another voting person, you think?
I would like to, and I mean, I had mentioned something to that guy over there because he has a history and a career and
I've got a history.
he's got a history in trees.
Well,
But it's, I don't know if he wants to join or not yet.
What is her name?
I've got a history in forestry, and that's
No.
different than a history in trees, believe it or not. So,
I think, I mean, I think we're very fortunate,
Should be in our meeting.
Alone to have
She was
Charlie.
there.
you know, cause I mean, you can easily have people that are passionate about trees or wanna do good for the trees and not just mow all the trees down and stuff, but, you know, to have possibly people like you with knowledge and a background in it, and people like Charlie with a actual career in it, we're not always gonna be that fortunate, you know?
Do you remember, gosh, she was with the investment place and she would come to, and she really wanted to join, and so, you know,
Does
if
she
we
live in the
could,
city though?
what?
I don't think she lives in the city.
No, she doesn't live in the city, but she has a business here, so how are we gonna take that?
I don't know how that works.
That's a Brian question.
I mean, she could still join, right? She just couldn't vote, but
So would that make enough, so we could have meetings then, no matter what, but you
Yeah,
still
we
have
still
to
need a
have,
voting
to
member,
have a
another
voting
voting-
meeting, you have to have 3, right?
No, 3, yeah.
is, just out of curiosity, do you have to have 3 for a quorum? I've always thought that if the majority of the board was present, that constituted a quorum. So 3, if you've got 2, that constitutes a quorum. Am I wrong?
That's always been my experience, but
Yeah.
in the December meeting, there was only one.
Oh, then you didn't have a quorum then, yeah.
And if we're gonna add members, it should be an odd number, 3 or 5. So
So,
3 or 5, you're right.
we're gonna need your wife to join too.
So.
Or
You're-
be
so
appointed
we
by
have a
the,
quorum
be
then, as
appointed
long
by our
as-
mayor.
Be drafted,
Here.
Shanghaied. I got,
well, it'd have to be
You know-
of the original members. But if we had 5, then we'd have to have a minimum of 3 present.
For quorum.
So should we keep it to 3, so we only have to have 2 present? I mean, you know, and can we find somebody?
The recommendation in the urban forest management plan is Jim Watt's recommendation. We don't have to go with his recommendation.
Was how many?
Was 5.
Was 5. Well, it sounds great, but we're Millwood,
Right.
you know? I mean, it's like the way it was written. Debbie and I and you a long time ago should have been done and replaced because we were limited to 2 or 3 years and it was like, nope, you're not going anywhere, nobody else.
Right. Well, I mean, he's suggesting 5, but as of right now, we don't have anybody else that has 100% interest anyway, you know?
No, that's exactly my
So,
point.
I
We're
think,
Millwood.
I think we leave it open to where, you know,
If we want to, we can come back and do
if you
that.
have people with genuine interest that
Well,
wanna
it
join.
doesn't, the way it's written too is the mayor is the one who has to appoint them and whatever. So if we just leave it like that and he adds, we decide we want to add somebody, we do it this way, send it to him, and it should be okay at that point, shouldn't it? And go through just with the mayor recommendation, be it 4 or 5. Yeah, let's just leave it for the moment.
I wouldn't, I
That
don't
still
think
needs
if,
to be rewritten, non-voting.
Yeah, then we'll rewrite the section about the voting and all that.
you got something else?
I have one other, and this is maybe a minor thing, but it's kind of a sore point for me. In section 11, talks about any person aggrieved may file an appeal with the city council. And right now, under the city fee structure, if you want to appeal to the city council, you got to fork over $900 for the right. And so I'm very sensitive to the term appeal. I would think maybe a right to petition the city council for reconsideration or something like that might be better. Because that $900 constitutes a significant hurdle for a lot of people. And
I agree.
we're trying to get the council to consider pulling that back, but it's in place right now, so. Anyway,
Yeah, I'll, make a note of that. and
okay,
We can talk to Brian about that.
thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
It's just nice to have public. We usually have nobody.
Hearing none, we'll move on to item number 7, board remarks. Any board remarks? Staff? Next item. Hearing no remarks, the next item will be set next meeting. Do we have any?
Usually, we're pretty quiet during the summer unless you would need. We could do where didn't we have it set up that you could call a special meeting?
Yeah, so we have quarterly meetings set right
Quarterly.
now, but we're allowed, even in this ordinance, it says we can call any special meeting
Yeah.
we need to handle business or whatever we need to do.
So when would be our next quarter one?
September,
So, March.
That's not a quarter,
So,
if we go till September.
So 3 months.
It'd be
So it'd be
sometime
the
in
end of June,
June
first
or-
would be July, first part of July somewhere. Oh, being this April 1st, or we could consider this end of March, or however we wanna look at it.
1st of June, 1st of April, 1st of May, 1st of June.
Which
It
is
would be May first, wouldn't it?
June, it'd be July 1st. Cause your quarters are January, February, March, April, May, June, so
That's-
July
end, yeah. And then well, at this point, are we committed to making a quarter, or if you call a quarterly meeting, or those are our set ones and we can have extra ones? How do we do it?
We're supposed to have quarterly meetings and we can set special meetings anytime, at any time.
Okay, so this is our first quarter meeting. So the next one has to be end of June, first part of July.
And hit the 4th of July.
We don't want the 4th of July.
Oh, actually, Monday is the 1st.
You wanna do that?
That would probably work.
So 1st of 6?
First of July?
Yeah.
And then the third quarter would be 1st of October, does that sound right? And where's that? What's that one?
You'd have to either do the 31st or the 7th.
Well, I'd say the 31st, let's do Halloween. Well, no, everybody wants to be with their kids.
We can,
Well, if we do the 30th, if there's anything we're discussing that we wanna take to council, isn't it second Tuesday? So that would, if we put it as the 7th, council comes the next day, so there's no time to look at anything. So I'd say, October 3rd, or September 30th.
Instead of October 7th.
okay,
Yeah, the 30th.
September 30th?
Yeah.
Okay.
at 6?
And then if you need a special meeting, you'll call it then, right?
Yeah, or you guys can email us and say, hey, I wanna talk about this, we can make a
Okay.
special meeting for it, so.
Anything else on next meetings?
I don't believe so.
Next item, adjournment.
Perfect.
Thanks, Winston.
Thanks.